Welcome back to BLOCKTV. This is Links in the Chain. Now in the crypto sphere, it seems every single day there's another hack, scam, ransomware, you name it. So joining us today to give us a sense in how to protect ourselves, we have Josh Mayfield, security products at RiskIQ. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I mean, it's really crazy at this point. It seems that as the value of cryptocurrency goes up, and every single day you turn your head, there's another hack, there's another scam. One recent report even said that up to 50% of all U.S. organizations have faced a ransomware at some point in 2019. Where are things headed for 2020?
You know, it's interesting. One of the things that we're seeing is that there was a little bit of a decline in the cryptojacking activity last year. And the curves really ride the valuation of cryptocurrencies. And so as they go up, so too do the jacking activities, which is just basic economics, right? So one of the things that's important to recognize is that threat actors and attackers are human agents with goals. And as their goals shift from 10 years ago being notoriety within your social clique to break in and steal and pawn off data on the dark web, it's now come to a form of conquest. And when the conquest risk reward is shaped well, hey, this is a weakness. I can get in there and do my crypto mining. The security controls are weak. The door's left open. The risk goes down. And so organizations primarily just need to see their attack surface and see all the different entry points where someone could take advantage of that risk reward calculation and jump in there and mine some cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to cryptojacking, I mean, that usually runs on a browser in the background on a kind of an inflected web page. On the user's end, your everyday average user, he probably won't see that his computer has been cryptojacked. Is the onus on the runner of the website to protect against this? Is it on the consumer? Who really is responsible and who could really protect themselves against this?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that even the regulators try to take on is where does the responsibility lie? And sometimes, depending on the type of attack or the type of control that wasn't in place can depend on the various regulations. And so there could be responsibility that's spelled out that way. Aside from that, organizations have a social responsibility, honestly, to safeguard where their customers and their users interact. So e-com, social, mobile, you can't imagine how many fraudulent mobile apps are out there that people are paying a vendor, paying the business, but it's actually an impersonated app. And they're being jacked there too. And not just, the card skimming stuff. I mean, Mage Card, for example, is everywhere. And so many organizations deal with that hazard. But the responsibility really lies on the safety of your organization. And so in the same way that your constructs of your store, the safety of your elevators, everything that happens when someone's going to interact with your business ultimately falls to you. And that just happens to be in more of a bit sphere of digital interactions.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned Mage Cards there. You want to explain to our viewers for a second exactly what Mage Cards are and how they work?
Yeah, this goes back to, it's part of this whole classification and change within the hacker community. From notoriety to breaking and entering, pawn off something you've stolen, to direct conquest. And Mage Card is no different, just like the cryptojacking, just like the crypto mining. I'm going to take control. I'm going to seize it by injecting malicious JavaScript onto the page, and I'm going to redirect payments to myself. And so, I mean, we call it card skimming, but really what it is it's an intercept. It's something that's much more severe than just skimming a card. It's an act of conquest. I'm going to take over this page with my code. And I'm going to determine what happens next, including key logging, including credential swiping, including card skimming. But it's that conquest category all the more. And when you don't have line of sight to all those different digital resources, assets, and entryways to seize that control, to take that conquest, it's going to flank you just because you can't see it coming.
Mm-hmm. Now, when we're dealing with these massive corporations like Amazon, Facebook, Google, they have the money, they have the resources to kind of keep up with the hackers, with the criminals. They could really put a lot of resources to that. How are smaller organizations that really might not deal with technology, they don't have the money, they don't have the resources to really defend themselves, how are they supposed to keep up with this growing pace of criminality online?
Well, one of the things that you can do is, there are three, I would say, that I see mid-sized enterprises and smaller organizations taking advantage of. One is just getting back to the basics. Do I see everything, and are the proper controls there? Great, done. Second, how much can I automate? Okay, my traditional practices from prevention, detection, response are manual processes. How much of that can I automate? And just incrementally automate every single place you can. And then thirdly, that which you can't do as a core competency, like visibility and control, and that which you cannot automate, you might want to tap into some sort of managed service that can operate very specific functions that you can't automate or cannot have as a core competency. And so those are the three steps, and in that order, that I would suggest to anyone in a smaller organization. Simple controls, visibility everywhere, automate as much as you can, and then the remainder, think about managed service partners.
Now as the years go on and as time definitely goes on, things are computing, especially storage, processing power, that's moving more and more from local up to the cloud. And what that essentially means is that, a lot of our private data, a lot of information on ourselves are kind of being out of our hands, moving to offsite servers. What does that mean for protecting ourselves? And what does this mean for the organizations that are kind of managing these clouds? Is it just piling all our eggs in one basket where hackers just have to crack these massive server farms?
Well, the benefit of the cloud is its distribution. And so having that distribution is one protective measure in and of itself, because all the crown jewels, and you may have data here, a workload there, and the two are in a trust relationship that's strong and highly protected. And the distribution of things in the web allows them to carve up the various opportunities, because there's not just one honeypot to draw from. And so those are just some inherent benefits of cloud. But the dangerous thing is the ease and that distribution of data, because in most organizations, they experience this occurrence where people are just spinning up AWS and Google Cloud Platform and Azure instances left and right all day long. And most of the time, the security configurations and the sensitive data that it can contain is just out there, and no one really knows about it. Recently, one thing that we discovered, and we're really proactive with our customers when we say, hey, this just happened, our detection discovered it. You have a very lucrative and highly important revenue generating app that is actually out exposed to the internet, attacker exposed, and also has all of these open ports, all of these security misconfigurations. Wanted to bring it to your attention. And so being able to notice that when it's happening, just because somebody switched something over, something went from this particular infrastructure to another, and something happened in the migration. Some control wasn't set. Again, back to that basic of, can I see everything, and do I have the proper controls? That's number one. Mm-hmm.
Now, it seems like a lot of times in the headlines, especially 2019, a lot of government agencies, organizations, municipalities were attacked by ransomware, phishing attacks, things of that nature. Do you feel that, especially in the public sector, that they're properly educated, that they have the proper safeguards in place? What can the government do to kind of stem these attacks?
Yeah, the basis of the ransomware is that you're going to care more about your data than I do as the attacker. And so I'm going to use that to my advantage. So I can hold it hostage and demand a payment. The challenge is with governments, and one of the reasons that they're so highly targeted, one is just the nature of it. Administrations are constantly rolling over, and new and fresh faces are coming into government systems and institutions that are more perpetual. And so you have different decision makers being dropped into that ongoing continuum of their cyber maturity, who have different visions. And so that all those fits and starts and hurry up and stop moments and new decision and new leadership is constantly cycling. And so it keeps them behind the curve just inherently. And then the second one is that these things cost money. And so what are you going to do? What will the taxpayers think? Are you going to erect this new school, or are you going to tighten up your cyber program? At the municipal level, at the state and federal level, they have the same situation. Do we put the money here? Do we put the money there? And earmarking things for cybersecurity is still kind of ethereal to the average taxpayer. And so those making the decisions on where budgets are created and where they're allocated are driven a lot by popular demand. What will the voters want? What will the taxpayers want? And so sometimes cybersecurity takes a backseat to some of the more vivid and sensational things that governments want to spend money.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's recently a couple of legislators in New York are actually trying to pass a bill that makes it illegal for the use of taxpayer money to pay off these ransoms. But, I think the best defense is stopping those attacks. So, Josh, thank you so much for joining us, explaining to us a little bit how these things work and how we could better protect ourselves and our companies. Thank you very much. And for all our viewers at home, if you want more on tech, cryptocurrency, and blockchain news, make sure to check us out at blocktv.com.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter